Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Daniel, one half of the Kwak Brothers. Welcome to part 2 in terms of me sharing how I got into real estate investing and how you can use my story to duplicate success as well. So if you haven't seen part 1, it was actually a great interview between myself and my friend Chris, and he got to interview me because he actually is also getting started in real estate investing like you guys, and I had him there just to ask me questions that I feel like a lot of you guys would ask me as well, because obviously I'm now 5 years into my journey, and I want to have somebody who's more relatable ask questions on your guys' behalf. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, I talk about the story on what made me get interested in real estate investing and what people should do when they first start. And one of the things that I mentioned in the video, before you guys get into real estate investing, I would love for you guys to be intentional about personal development. And I mentioned in part 1 that the biggest indicator of success, and I've seen hundreds and thousands of real estate investors and entrepreneurs in the real estate industry and entrepreneurs in general, and the biggest indicator of success between the 9 people who tried and get to a certain level, maybe some fail, and the one guy who really is successful, the difference between the 1 and the 9 is the mindset. Have they invested in themselves? Are they continuing to go on this journey of knowledge and reinvesting information into their own brain? Because of course, the journey of entrepreneurship is the 6 inches between your 2 ears. That's the longest distance that any man will have to travel in his life. So welcome to part 2, and I'm basically going to be talking about the schematics and the step-by-step and also the organizational thought patterns of my personal development journey, and also what you should do before you do your very first deal. So I'm going to walk you through how to prepare yourself for your first deal as well. So I actually would like to start with a quote that helped me out a lot. And it's a quote by Thomas Edison, and it's a life-changing quote for me. And ever since I heard this quote, man, it's got stuck in my brain. Every single training that I do, I talk about this quote. So here it is. To have what you have never have had, you've got to do what you've never have done. You've got to say what you've never have said. You've got to learn what you've never learned. And most importantly, you have to be who you never have been. So what does it mean, right? It means I don't want you guys to invest in real estate. I want you guys to become real estate investors, right? It's a matter of identity for you. So let's go ahead and talk about that. And first, I'm going to talk about the 3 concepts that's very important for you, that's very pivotal for your success. So the very first one is information. Information. Now, information implies a lot of things. Information is available, fortunately, in 2019, everywhere. You have this YouTube channel, which if you haven't subscribed yet to the Kwak Brothers, we put out a lot of great YouTube content revolving around real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and personal development. But on top of just YouTube, we also have a lot of books. So I'm going to go ahead and start naming some really good channels that I've looked at myself that I feel like is really beneficial for you guys. So obviously, we know a lot of Bigger Pockets, and I know that there are a lot of things, because it's such a forum-based platform, that there may be some inaccuracies in the information, but for the most part, I've often and quite honestly have been impressed with what I've seen on Bigger Pockets, and even on their YouTube channel, I've quite been impressed as well. So shout out to you, Bigger Pockets. Another really good channel is Max Maxwell, and Max Maxwell is a YouTube channel, and I don't know Max personally, so I'm actually just endorsing their channel based on the value that they provide on their channels. It's not like a bias where like I'm secretly collecting money from these guys or anything like that. I'm genuinely impressed by these channels. So Max Maxwell is a guy who actually trains a lot on wholesaling, and I've heard of Max through a lot of close friends that kind of observe a lot of the YouTube platform, the YouTube world in real estate investing education. And Max is a guy whose name came up time and time again, and I decided to watch some of his videos, and quite honestly, I was very impressed. So, another shout out to you, Max. Another really good YouTube channel is a guy by the name of Joe Fairless. And now I know Joe personally. I was actually on his show, and we're actually having Joe in our show very next week. And I gotta say, a lot of his content is also phenomenal as well. And I know he's very notorious for saying, we only talk about, value, we talk about content, none of that fluffy stuff. He hates that fluffy stuff. And I got to know Joe because, I was in the gym and I was actually searching for real estate investing topics on YouTube and also real estate investing things so that even I could learn. And I came across one of Joe's video, and I was very impressed, extremely impressed with not only his ability to communicate a lot of information, but also really impressed with the amount of content that he puts out and also the validity. And, there's a lot of things that Joe really talks about in this channel that I've never seen be mentioned anywhere else that I really feel like is pivotal to know as a real estate investor, as a guy who does deals every single day, as, a practicing investor. So those 3 channels I just recommended are really good YouTube channels. If you want to go check those out, feel free to go ahead and check those out. So on top of YouTube, I always say books. Now, I'm not going to recommend just one real estate investing book because if you actually Google, books on real estate investing, you'll find a lot of them out there. And truth be told, it's just kind of like a sea and ocean of knowledge. But a lot of the books that I've personally read, obviously, were more personal development books like Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Also, Pitch Anything by Orrin Clough really helped me learn how to become an expert at raising capital. Because, of course, when we want to scale our real estate business and we want to build it from zero, we have to learn how to raise funds. We have to learn how to raise capital, raise equity, etc., etc. So on top of YouTube and also on top of books, I would also recommend newspapers / biographies. So I would probably focus more on the biographies more. The only reason why I say newspapers is because I always recommend people get acquainted and also get in the habit of learning what's going on in today's market. One of the biggest skills that I see missing in a lot of real estate investors is their inability to know and understand macroeconomics and also microeconomics and how that affects your investment. And I'm not talking about, just turning on, a business channel or a popular channel and talking about news reporters that, they're speaking about the recession or whatever it is. I'm talking about like actual people in the real estate industry, stating things and also writing things based on what's happening right now in today's market. And biographies, I would recommend a very large part of my success has to do with biographies. One of my favorite biographies is Am I Being Too Subtle by a real estate investor named Sam Zell. Sam Zell actually started out in Chicago and is a billionaire real estate investor. And his book, Am I Being Too Subtle, actually made a huge impact in my real estate investing journey. So on top of the information, you also need what's called immersion. Now, let me explain this for a second. So, literally, I don't want to say 100% because I feel like that's a little too biased. But almost every single real estate investor that I meet focuses on just this. They just focus on the info part, right? I.e., the reason why you're here on this channel, why you're listening to other channels, why you're going on YouTube. You want the knowledge, right? You want the knowledge. You want the information. You want the know-how. But I'm gonna tell you that this success in real estate is really compiled of 3 parts. Now, yes, information is extremely important, but there's also this little thing called immersion, right? Now, what do I mean by immersion? Well, immersion oftentimes means sacrificing, right? And also lifestyle. So when I mean sacrifices and lifestyle, I'm talking about the very essence of who you are. Because remember, you're not here to invest in real estate. You're here to become a real estate investor or a real estate entrepreneur. And what do I mean by sacrifices? Well, truth be told, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, there have been some people I needed to cut out of my life. There's people that I needed to stop hanging out with because they weren't getting me in the right direction, in terms of my mindset. I had to start surrounding myself with more positive individuals, people who had ambition, people who had the same goals that I had. Now, I'm not telling you guys to ditch your friends or just say goodbye to your family. I'm not saying that. What I am saying, however, is to be intentional. Be intentional about what's going in your mind, who you're surrounding yourself with, what you guys are talking about, the conversations that you guys are having. I'm just telling you guys there's a time and a place. And I made the conscious decision that in order for me to be successful, I needed to be intentional about having a time and a place where, sure, I could, hang out with my high school buddies, hang out with friends that I, met throughout my life, people who aren't in the same field or want to do the same things that I do. But at the same time, I had to be intentional about hanging out with people and actually spending time with people who would encourage me and actually understand this entrepreneurial journey and also this mindset. And there's a lot of other things that you may have to sacrifice as well. I've met entrepreneurs who, had to give up a lot of addictions that was holding them back from achieving their goals. Kind of like how if you want to get fit and you want to work out, well, guess what? You're probably going to have to throw away that box of Twinkies that you have in the pantry. And a lot of you guys in your entrepreneurial journey have a lot of boxes of Twinkies and Ho-Hos and cupcakes in your pantry, and that's what you're going to have to do. Like, you can't get mad that you don't have a six-pack and at the same time you're scarfing down a box of Twinkies every night. It just doesn't work like that. Same thing in the entrepreneurial journey, right? Like, you gotta throw out the box of Twinkies, right? So sorry, hostess, right? If you're mad at me, whatever. Go watch Zombieland. It makes you want to eat a Twinkie. All right. So also lifestyle. What are you incorporating in your lifestyle that's helping you achieve your goals? So one of the things that I changed, keyword change, right? Because if you want to change your income, you have to change, and that starts with changing your habits. So one of the habits that I had to kick was what I was listening to in the car. So before my real estate investing journey, I listened to a lot of music. I loved listening to hip hop and, all sorts of different music and, kind of podcasts. And I noticed that a lot of the things that I was observing and absorbing in my time in the car, which, for those of you guys that have a job and you have a commute, you're spending a lot of time in the car, right? You're talking an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day. That's valuable time that you guys could be using. And so I actually started changing what I started listening to in the car. I started listening to YouTube videos on real estate and personal development. I started listening to audiobooks. I started listening to a lot of different things that changed my mind, what I was putting into my mind. So we've got information, we have immersion, and we also have engagement. So what do I mean by engagement? Well, engagement means hanging out with other people like that. Now, I know I talked a little bit about that in the immersion and the lifestyle, but let's break it down a little bit more. I'm talking about going to like meetups. And if you're in the Chicagoland area and you want a great meetup to go to, I'm actually starting a meetup. The first one's gonna be on Saturday, March 16th, and it's gonna happen every first and third Saturday of every month. It's gonna be in Naperville. My church and my pastor was gracious enough to allow me to use the space for free. So we do have a classroom in there that I will be using as meetup. So if you guys want meetups and networking event to attend to and you're in the Chicagoland area, right, feel free to go ahead and comment down below. Actually, the address of where the meetup is going to be held is going to be in the description below. So the address is 1451 Raymond Drive in Naperville, Illinois. That address, again, is going to be in the description below. It's going to be every first and third Saturday of every month, starting from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So on top of meetups, you have obviously different types of events. And also, overall people who you're spending time with. So obviously, we have this thing called the 33% rule, where, 33% of your time you want to be spending with people who know more than you. The 33% you want to spend on people who are kind of like your peers, people who you can mastermind with and bounce ideas off of. And of course, you always want to be giving back. So, dedicate that last 33% to the people who you could help out and whatnot. And for those of you guys that say you don't have a mentor, don't be afraid to ask. Whenever I meet somebody who's very successful, I always try and ask for as much as I can in terms of time and say, hey, can I buy you lunch? Can I buy you dinner, breakfast, whatever it can be? Don't be afraid to ask. Even asking me, right? Don't be afraid to ask, right? Learn.thekwakbrothers.com. That's how you can ask me to mentor you. Boom. All right. So events, meetups, and what that does again is put more positive people into your life. And this all of a sudden starts becoming transformational, right? You become a different person. So I'm actually going to read off some notes just to make sure that I don't miss anything for you guys. Also, we talked about obviously lunches, taking your mentor out to lunch. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about in terms of what I did, since this is the story and I'm walking you guys through, what I did in real estate investing. And truth be told, guys, if I'm going to be authentic, I didn't do all these things when I first started. Looking back in my journey, in my entrepreneurial journey, had I done this from the beginning, I'd probably be much further than where I'm at today. I like to think so. A little part of me also thinks that I probably would have been a little taller, maybe like 6'1", 6'2", instead of being 5'9". I'm just kidding, right? I think I'm the perfect height. My girlfriend tells me that all the time. But looking back, if I would have done these three things from the start, I would have been so much farther ahead. I would have avoided so many headaches and mistakes that I made that caused me a lot of sleepless nights. So I'm sharing these things with you because I want to help you guys avoid those type of negative experiences. So going back to kind of like my notes, having those three things, the last thing you want to do is build a team, right? And if we're talking about things that you want to do before you do your first deal, I would say build a team, right? So you want to be doing this for a good amount of time, right? You want to spend, in my last video in part 1, I talked about how I spent 2.5 years, learning and studying and networking before I even did my first real estate transaction. So maybe it won't take you guys that long, maybe it'll take you longer, maybe it'll take the same time, I'm not sure, but being intentional about these three things is absolutely pivotal, especially when you're just starting out. You want to be intentional about your sacrifices, your lifestyle, and I would say for a lot of you guys, don't just think about it, because when we are entrepreneurs and when we're investors, right, it's up to us to take the initiative, right? The really essence of the word entrepreneur means creator. Right? It means to take an idea and turn it into reality. It really is what an entrepreneur does. So, it's not real until it comes from your brain and you put it out. So I would encourage you guys to sit down, grab a sheet of paper, and literally just start with the info and say, okay, what YouTube channels can I watch? What education programs could I buy? What books could I read? What biographies could I get interested in? Who could I meet? What sacrifices? Writing down and sitting down and writing down your sacrifices that you're going to make for the sake of your real estate investing success, that's huge. And also being intentional about how can you change your lifestyle, right? Like maybe I shouldn't go out every Friday and Saturday night and get drunk and be hungover the next day. Maybe I should stay in and actually, watch videos, go to a networking event, spend time reading, invest in myself, right? I mean, I'm not saying this to brag, but quite honestly, like I haven't gone out on a Friday, Saturday night in years, right? So being intentional about all what you're doing is so pivotal. Okay, so building a team. So what do I mean by building a team? Well, I'm talking about the people who are going to help you in your journey. So the first person that you're probably going to have to know pretty well is somebody who can fulfill your weaknesses. And we call that a partner. Now, am I saying you absolutely need a partner? No, absolutely not. I'm not saying that you need a partner 100%. However, I do believe that everybody does have a weakness. Everybody does, even me, right? I'll be straight up with you guys, right? My weaknesses is details, operations, and also marketing. Fortunately, I have a brother who's really good at all three of these things, right? He's really good at operations, automating our operations, and also marketing, right? Making sure that what we do is in front of as many eyeballs as we possibly can get in front of. So I would be intentional about what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Maybe you already have a partner in mind. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's your best friend growing up and who's also interested in doing this with you. Maybe you're watching this video with them right now, right? So be intentional about what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and set that expectation up front. That way you don't have to deal with a lot of these things in the future. And I will tell you guys, the biggest problem that you're gonna have in entrepreneurship and also real estate investing is partners. That's the number one thing that I see popping up over and over and over and over again. So on top of a partner, you also want a good real estate attorney. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking is like, well, Daniel, I won't need these people until I do a deal. Wrong. If you network with these individuals and you figure out and you're intentional about who you want in your team, like an attorney, and you interview them and you ask them questions on what you're looking for, you're gonna be way better off, and there's a lot of mistakes you're gonna avoid. Same thing with a property manager. Same thing with a broker and realtor. Right? And especially a contractor, right? So I'm gonna write contractor here. All right, I'm gonna kind of just abbreviate it. And some of the questions that you guys wanna ask, you really wanna think about, right? So asking your attorney, like, hey, how much does this charge? Do you do law this way? Do you know what this is? Do you know what a contract for deed is? Asking your property manager, right, what's your leasing process? What's your background check process? Asking your broker realtor, hey, how many years have you been in business? Are you an investor-friendly realtor broker? And also asking other investors and also asking contractors, hey, let me see some of your work. And the best way to find these people, the best way to avoid as many mistakes as possible, truth be told, is through referrals. That's why I say you want to do these things first, and you want to get the engagement and build a network of other real estate investors that can help you, because referrals are honestly the best way to build a team. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is part 2. Stay tuned for part 3, where I actually walk you guys through an actual deal that I did. It's the first deal that I ever did. I'm gonna walk you through that process. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope this was valuable to you. Much love to you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, this is Daniel.
And this is Sam.
We are the Kwak Brothers. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you want to see more content value that we put out like this, what should they do, Sam?
Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell icon so you guys get notification for our upcoming videos.
That's right.